people in here?
Be quiet.
morning, everyone. Welcome to Buddhist Church of Oakland, our Dharma family service for January 8th. It's a beautiful sunny morning here in Oakland. We're getting a respite from the rain. And thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you everyone online for joining us, whether you're live or watching it later. Let's begin our service with Sutra chanting, and we'll be chanting Juseige, and it is on page 23 in the small purple book. And if you don't have a book, they're out there in the hallway.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay, we're going to be singing a Gatha a little later in the program, but for now, let's recite the three treasures, which is on page 3 in the small purple book. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, thank you once again, everyone, for joining us on what I kind of thought was going to be a rainy Sunday morning, but turns out to be a beautiful sunny Sunday morning. But rain has been on my mind. I think it's kind of overwhelming in a lot of ways, but been thinking about it a lot. And so I'd like to think about some different perspectives on rain. And even though it's sunny out and we can see the sun shining, you'll maybe think about when it starts raining again tonight or tomorrow or whatever. One of the most interesting things that I heard on the TV within the past week was when the mayor of San Francisco was complaining to the National Weather Service, saying, "You didn't tell us that was going to happen," basically, right? She complained that, you didn't tell us the weather was going to be that bad. So even putting aside the fact that it looks like, no, they did, right? But even if they didn't get the exact measurements right, that's not how weather works, right? That weather meteorology, right, forecasting the weather is not an exact science. We cannot tell the future. It doesn't work that way, right? There's no way we can say with absolute certainty this will happen. It's just impossible. We can make educated guesses on all kinds of stuff, but you can't determine 100% this will happen. And weather forecasting is one of the places, maybe I think in another life, if I had actually been a good student in school, I think I might have ended up a meteorologist. Because I remember being in maybe 9th grade or so, and in our science book, and I had stuff about clouds, right? And there's like cumulus clouds, and that's the only one I can remember. This is how bad a student I was. But there's different kinds of stratus clouds, right? There's different kinds of clouds. And I remember thinking, that's cool. And I wanted to learn it, but I just never studied. I never figured out, put in the effort to learn that stuff. And I think if I had, the weather was interesting, and so maybe I would have ended up a meteorologist. So I know a lot of people complain about weather reports, right, and weather forecasts, and because often it doesn't go the way they said, right? But personally, I feel kind of sympathy, and I listen. Why didn't it? Right? And so when a TV show comes on about the weather, like meteorology or why does the weather do what it does, I listen and I pay attention because I have this kind of interest in it. Right? And so my understanding is there's always this potential for change. That's the problem with meteorology. Yes, this is a trend, and it looks like this might happen. these atmospheric rivers are coming, right, from the Pacific and bringing these like huge, like streams of water, right? And that's what gets dumped down on us, right? And so they can say these are coming, and it looks like they're developing, right? And you'll hear them if you listen to the weather. They'll say the European model says blah blah blah, and this other model though says this. So different models look at it and determine, you know, this might happen or this might happen. And so meteorologists look at these different predictions and try and make the best guess they can make, right? But it is based on science, and it is based on analysis of what's going on, right? But first of all, here's these different predictions of the same weather pattern, right? But then also, even if 90% that's going to happen, the way it works is there's always a chance something else happens and starts going in this other direction, and it can change. There's no absolute this will happen. So part of why I'm talking about it is because to me, it sounds kind of like samsara. Right? Isn't this kind of a metaphor for life? I still remember being here as a student, or maybe it was even since I've been minister here and asked Reverend Seigen Yamaoka to speak as a guest speaker. But I clearly remember Yamaoka Sensei always saying, life doesn't go always the way we want. We can make the best plans, work so hard, doesn't always go that way. That's life. That's samsara, right? And so if we plan, I want this to happen, I've done everything I could to make it turn out this way, and it doesn't, and then we're upset. That's dukkha, right? That's suffering. We have these expectations, we have these desires, we're attached to what I want things to be like. I want it to turn out this way, and it didn't happen, right? And so our natural response is disappointment. We get upset, right? No, I wanted it to go this way, and it didn't. And so if we attach to that feeling, I wanted it this way, and it didn't go, but I wanted it that way, that's not what. And we get attached, we get upset, we suffer. And so this thing of the weather, right, not always doing what we think it's going to do, right, just really, really struck me in this way, right, that it's kind of like what samsara is described as like. Another aspect, though, is the weather is happening the way it does because of things that happened in the past, right? So I trust science. I'm not a science denier. I really appreciate science, and it's not the only thing, right? But I think that we have so much, science helps so much, right? And so I think that I agree that it seems like this increasingly bad, extreme weather we're having here in the Bay Area, in the United States, in Europe, all over the world, is climate change, right? Due to the impact of human beings on their environment, right? That we've rushed processes, or we've changed the natural processes, right? And so I don't like to use the word global warming because people will say, well, it's cold, so that shows global warming's not real. No, generally the entire planet's warming up, but that's causing climate to change all over the place. So when we get a hurricane, it's a more extreme hurricane. When we get these atmospheric rivers, they're more extreme and more plentiful. When it heats up in the wintertime in Europe, that's climate change. When it's extremely cold, that's climate change, right? Or partly due to climate change. So this idea that the past impacts the present. That's science. That's also karma, right? Buddhism also does say that, right? That the things that are happening now are partly due to actions and decisions we've made in the past. Right? That though often what's happening now is the fruition of these seeds that were planted in the past. So that seed and fruit is an interesting metaphor that they use in Buddhism for karma, right? I do something that's planting a seed, and over time, it's going to fruit, right? It'll come to fruition. The results will happen. Right? So this idea of karma is that basically that cause and effect, seed and fruit, right? Cause and result. But sometimes what we're seeing is the results, right? We see the result, right? And we just, when we complain or we're upset, and maybe we ignore the seed, the cause, or maybe we're unaware of the cause. So, one thing we could try to do is play the karma game and try and do everything as best and as perfect as possible in order to have the best results possible. And that's another aspect of Buddhism, right? Good deeds have good results. Bad, harmful deeds have bad and harmful results to the doer, as well as to the recipient. Right? And so that's one aspect of Buddhism, and to realize that, oh yeah, this horrible thing happened, maybe I have some responsibility for that. But it's not that easy, right? Playing that karma game, trying to do that, it's so much bigger than that, right? Because it's not just me, it's me and everyone around me and my parents and my family and all the people I've experienced, right? All of that has an impact on this present moment and on each moment. Right? So Shinran doesn't say to try and do that. He actually kind of recognizes it's maybe impossible to accurately play that karma game, right? To try and make things turn out the way I want. I'm trying to control all the, every single aspect of what's going on so that I can have this wonderful result at the end. And then it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen exactly the way I wanted, and get upset. Well, one way is to get upset. The Buddhist way is to have awareness of this, right? And realize, oh yeah, it didn't go. There was stuff beyond my control, and so that's another thing, right? That we can't control life. I cannot control my life. I especially cannot control others. And maybe that's another thing, the weather metaphor, right? That we can't control the weather. Isn't that one of the things? Like, we think we can control the world. We can control the markets, right? We can control with the government. We can control people's behavior. We can control as if, right? But it seems like this with medicine, we can cure anything. But the reality is no. And the weather is maybe one of these examples of we can't control it. And so that's another aspect. And I remember Yamaoka Sensei saying that too, right? That we can't control the world. We're not in control. We can control certain aspects, right? And we can have, of course, influence. But maybe these recognitions. Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. Number 2. Battery. This one. All right. This one. I lost my train of thought. I'm going to move on. You get the idea, right? Maybe that was on purpose. Another aspect of this whole thing that I've touched on is gratitude, right? All the rain we've been having has been causing lots of problems, right, in our community, but obviously all kinds of, this keeps going, right, into the Midwest and spreading these storms, and you look at all the weather, right? And so one thing is, acknowledge, yeah, you know what, this is causing difficulty. So as many of you know, my roof has been leaking, and it's been very stressful and very difficult. It's not that bad, but still, even just these little drips, it just, every pop I hear, I'm even sitting in my car and I hear something go pop, and I'm like, is that rain leaking? Oh no, I'm in my car, of course, right? So the leak in my roof is stressful, but in my case, I have a roof over my head to leak, right? So even if I don't like the leak, I can try and see it from other perspectives and realize, wow, you know what? My roof may be leaking, but I have a roof. I cannot imagine being houseless right now, unhoused, right? Not having a home with a roof over your head, right? Even if you have a tent, that doesn't always help either, right? So I just can't I try not to think about it, because if you think about it, your heart aches for all these people, so many people out who are out just without a home, and this rain and just the impact that it may be having. Also, we need the rain here in California, right? But just not all at once. Please, so this is so nice. I can't believe how this sunny weather is just like so powerful, right? To think, oh, thank goodness we're getting a break, right? It's when we get these long periods without break that it's really with the oversaturated soil and the wind and everything, right? So these breaks are nice, and so appreciate it, right? Appreciate, I'm looking at the sun right now because that's where the sun is shining in, right? And so to appreciate and think about things from another perspective. Finally, Shinran does use this cloud metaphor in his Shoshinge, and this idea how Amida's wisdom and compassion is like light. It's like the light of the sun. The three poisons of ignorance, greed, anger, that's me. That's what I have. And that's like clouds. So that the clouds of the three poisons obscures the light of the sun, of wisdom and compassion. So it's a really neat metaphor. So the light of compassion that grasps us and illumines and protects us always, the darkness of our ignorance is already broken through. And yet the clouds and mists of greed and desire, anger and hatred cover as always the sky of true and real Shinji. So Buddha's light, the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, true reality is always here. It's always, we're already grasped. And yet the three poisons, my ignorance, my anger, my greed, obscure it, right? So that I'm kind of stuck in this samsaric, selfish life. But, and I'm back to Shinran, though the light of the sun is veiled by clouds and mists, beneath the clouds and mists there is light, not darkness. So it's like, this didn't work out for me today. Although, if we went out there, the sun could be behind some clouds, even though it's really bright. I don't know that it's like actually a clear blue sky. I think I did see some blue sky, but I think there's a lot of gray out there still too, right? At my house, it was much more gray, but it wasn't like nighttime, right? Even those clouds cannot fully obscure the light of the sun. And so maybe that's like my life too, right? That I still have ignorance, I still have arrogance, I still have anger, I still have desires, and yet Buddha's light is still reaching me. Right? It's not that Buddha's light cannot come into my life. And so, like realizing that with my roof, I could be stuck in my anger and frustration with my roof, but realizing, wow, but I have a roof. Right? I can see that as Buddha. That's Buddha's wisdom coming to me. Right? That's not some amazing insight of my own. That's the teachings of the Buddha, and even just the true wisdom and compassion of the Buddha coming to me, illumining me. So thank you very much. It's a difficult times going into this new world, not new world, well, it is a new world in many ways over the past few years. This new year, right, we still do have the New Year's, some of the New Year's decorations. We took down, Reverend Endo took down the Kagami Mochi, because it gets kind of gross, right? It gets moldy, right? But we left up the other stuff. The flower arrangements is still from New Year's. The uchishiki, the brocade cloths, and we had that on the screen for like Juseige. And so, we're still at this kind of New Year's time, right? We're still just coming into this new year. So it's an opportunity, right, to think about, to look into the new year. How would I like it to be? Are there changes I'd like to make? I'd like to at least try to make, right? But recognizing too that where I am now is partly due to the past, whether it's last year or previous years or previous generations, right? I think an acknowledgement of that impact on me now, on our church now, on the Sangha now, is important too. So thank you very much, everyone. Why don't we conclude the Dharma message with Gasho. Though the light of the sun is veiled by clouds and mists, beneath the clouds and mist, there is light, not darkness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. I just realized the microphone cutting out was good because it reminds me I need to put new ones in for Shotsuki, which is going to be our next service. So we are going to sing a Gatha. It's called It's Raining, and it's in the small purple book on page 58. Sorry, people online, we don't have the music for you, but you can listen. It's raining and raining outside today, but it's so nice inside. The ground is too wet for us to play, but indoors we keep very warm. Keep very warm. Keep very warm. Keep very warm. We can keep very warm. People may trick us and be very mean, but we must keep in mind. To Buddha's great love we can always lean, and so keep our hearts very warm. Keep very warm. Keep very warm. Keep very warm. Keep our hearts very warm. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, next we're going to turn it over to Robert Noguchi offsite, and he is going to do our announcements. If you just give me 1 second. Speaker, external headphones. Okay.
Okay, we all set?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Buddhist Church of Oakland. Let's see, first I want to thank Reverend Bridge for his Dharma talk and for officiating today's service. Also, Reverend Michael Endo for assisting, Steve Terasaki for playing the organ, and the host night group chaired by Norman Yoshida, providing hospitality for the folks at the church today. Also, the Zoom crew makes the YouTube presentation possible. Thank you all very much. A couple of quick announcements. Next, we'll have, as Sensei mentioned, the Shotsuki service will take place at 11 o'clock this morning, coming up very soon. And next Sunday, the 15th, will be our Honko service at 10 a.m. in person and online. Also, the annual general meeting for members of the church will be Sunday, February 5th at 11 a.m. Following the 10 a.m. service. Let's move on to stuff on the BCO website, BuddhistChurchofOakland.org. Coming up next Saturday, the Southern Alameda County Buddhist Church will present Forever Young, a reunion dance party. Next Saturday, the 14th, from 7 to 10 p.m. Music from the 70s to the 2000s. Performances by DJ Taka, who's Reverend Takashi Miyagi, the resident minister at SACBC, along with Reverend Bridge, will be performing as well. Appetizers, dancing, drinks, things like that. $25 for 18 and over. So the information is on the BCO website. Also, the benefits of a life of gratitude being presented by the Buddhist Churches of America Center for Buddhist Education, Living the Dharma. This used to be formerly Everyday Buddhism Committee. It presents the benefits of a life of gratitude, benefits of Shin Buddhism, Part 1, which will be held on Saturday, March 11th, 2023, from 11 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, with the guest speaker, Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi. Also, and I don't have the information in front of me, but there's a campaign in progress right now to join into the Lincoln Square Park, a new community center, recreation community center. And so they're trying to raise money for that. And actually there's a website that explains everything. It's friendsoflincolnsquarepark.org. And as many of you know, the Lincoln Square Park is just up around the corner from the Buddhist Church of Oakland and been part of the community for a long time. So we're trying to do a fundraising campaign. And if you are interested and would like to take a look at it, it's friendsoflincolnsquarepark.org. Going to the BCA website, the Buddhist Churches of America.org. The Southern District CE, the Center for Buddhist Education, and the IBS, Institute of Buddhist Studies, Winter Pacific Seminar will be on January 28th, 2023. Hope from Shinran's Perspective, an in-person and virtual event in English and Japanese. Speakers will be Professor Jessica Main and Reverend Yasushi Kigoshi. Registration information, it's 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. that day at the Los Angeles Honpa-Onganji Buddhist Temple. But of course, this is a virtual event, so you can join virtually. Information is on the BCA website. Going back to the BCO website, there's a number of ways that you can donate to the Buddhist Church of Oakland. And again, we appreciate all donations and accept donations of any kind, any sort from anyone to the Buddhist Church of Oakland. You can check any one of these buttons to pay through PayPal or send something to the Buddhist Church of Oakland office, which is on the Buddhist Church of Oakland website. And that's all I have. Thank you very much, everyone. And we hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll send this back to Sensei.
Thank you, Robert. This will conclude our Dharma family service. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.